Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to our webinar today. I'd like to thank Mark and Richard Haas from HP Software for joining us today as well. I'd really like to focus in on how HP Software and HP Executive Scorecard can help you and your organization make a tremendous difference in terms of your overall performance of your organization. In terms of the agenda today, we wanted to initially provide you with an introduction and overview of the Executive Scorecard. Let you know some of the value points associated with the scorecard, as well as I'll provide you with a brief demonstration of the scorecard. And today we'll actually provide you a brief demonstration of the mobile version of the scorecard. So we'll be doing that here on the webinar. And then we'll be introducing the new Executive Scorecard SaaS solution. This is a solution provided by ResultsPositive. And then at the end, Zach will be doing some giveaways, and we have some other opportunities for customer participants as well as part of the giveaways. So thanks again for attending, and we'll jump right in here to the presentation. And as we go through, feel free to ask any questions if you have questions about the scorecard or just questions in general. Feel free to ask those. I'll be able to answer those, as well as members of the HP team, Mark and Richard, will also be able to answer as well. So next, I wanted to start off here and really kind of highlight that with the Executive Scorecard, it's an opportunity for you to make a difference tomorrow in your organization. Imagine going into the office in the morning, getting your cup of coffee, and you're looking at how can I make a difference today? What if I could have access to how did our team do against our goals and objectives for the previous day? What if I had access to how did we perform the previous day and meeting our goals and objectives and our commitments to our various customers and stakeholders? Well, we understand today that a lot of organizations aren't able to do that today easily because they're focused more into the today side here of the slide. They might be dealing with multiple sources of truth and trying to get access to their performance information, trying to understand how they're doing so they can determine what actions they should take today to really make a difference for themselves as well as for the organization. That also might be scrounging around trying to find where are all the different reports, how can I really understand how we've been performing so I can appropriately come up with the right strategies and initiatives to improve overall performance. A critical one that we're seeing customers experiencing today is that they're getting access to some of these reports, but they're outdated 30 days after the fact. So that particular time is really even more difficult to determine how do I make a difference. How do I identify the right actions to move forward? So what we're proposing here today is with the Executive Scorecard, you have the opportunity to make a difference for yourself by easily coming to work in the morning, checking how your team performed against goals and objectives, to try to immediately understand how can I make a difference personally, how can I help myself get that next promotion, as well as how can I help my team provide the services that we're responsible for out to the organization. So what we'd like to do next is highlight how the Executive Scorecard can help you achieve that, help you achieve driving a difference in performance and the outcomes both for you personally as well as for the organization. So we'd like to introduce, as you can see here, the HP Executive Scorecard. What's nice here, you can also see that it's actually more than just a static solution on your desktop. It's mobile. I can collaborate. I can have that single pane of glass, that single source of truth to understand, number one, how are we doing against our goals and objectives? And then number two, how are we doing against the various commitments we've made to the business or to our stakeholders in terms of performance related to actionable key performance indicators. We believe by getting access to the HP Executive Scorecard is going to simplify everyone's life in terms of understanding performance. It's going to be able to automate your typical manual reporting processes you might have today, and thereby giving you that real-time information every morning when you come in the office to understand how can I make a difference, how can I make decisions that's going to improve the overall performance. And I can also do that across multiple dimensions. You notice here in the scorecard, it supports a balanced scorecard approach. So I can actually identify goals and objectives related to financials, related to our customers, related to business process improvement, and also to overall service delivery. So not only can I look at just key performance indicators on our commitments, but I can also look at how we're investing in the organization so that performance tomorrow will be improved, so tomorrow we can make a bigger difference and a bigger impact for the organization. So really this brings us down into the goal and objective around making a difference in performance. We believe that IT value and performance can be improved by having access to an IT performance management system. As you've probably all seen, there are various performance management systems in the marketplace today, but a lot of those are based on how do we manage and improve sales performance, how do we manage and improve overall finance performance, or related to ERP systems, how do we manage and improve the overall supply chain. There typically hasn't been a solution that helps focus in on how does IT perform better, how does IT have access to their goals and objectives to perform as they look at providing value and increase value to the business. So we'd like to introduce HP's IT Performance Management System. I'd like to turn it over to Mark Bradley just briefly here for a bit introduction into the IT Performance Management System, which is HP's Executive Scorecard, for this slide or a couple slides, and then I'll pick up and provide the rest of the overview and jump into the demonstration.
Great, thank you, John. So the IT Performance Suite, what we've done is we've gone through, we took a look across HP's portfolio, we looked across the industry, and what we've come up with is a number of KPIs that are well-defined within each of our disciplines. And what you're looking at here is kind of a breakdown of where the KPIs can help enhance and bring additional insight. So as you look through, there's finance, there's portfolio, project management, application lifecycle, and some of the key points that we want to call out are not only are these well-defined KPIs, but we're also giving you the calculation, and then we understand the data structures that are needed and the data elements that are needed to help bring up and calculate to generate these KPI information and scores. So what we've done here is we've got broke it down into finance and planning, application development, and operations. And collectively across these different systems of information, we're rolling that information up and we're presenting it at the scorecard. And then by taking it there and aligning with goals and objectives, now you can kind of see, measure, and monitor how you're doing against those goals and objectives, and then being able to automate that data flow, which is critical to be able to see the information as it's happening. Great. If we could go to the next slide. Great. So, and John had talked about the mobile, being able to not only see the information from a website, but as we have our mobile platforms, whether it's Android or Apple, these devices are everywhere, and this information is important to be able to get as it's happening. And here we're looking at some of the key elements of the scorecard, which strategic balanced scorecard, following the Norton Kaplan concepts, the ability to cascade through. So as you set up goals and objectives, that would come from the CIO, and as you cascade across the levels of management, whether it's the VP of Apps, the VP of Ops, Service Manager, and across, in addition to role-based cascading the scorecards, we also have strategy-based. So if you're going to cloud, you're going to SaaS, you're going security, from physical to virtual machines, all these different initiatives. We have a scorecard that's defined out of the box to help get you started. The idea being that you can look at what we're presenting and then make the adjustments that best meet your strategy. The KPIs are easy to read, easy to follow. You're able to follow through and have a dialogue to make things actionable. So as you're going into the KPIs, you're drilling into the history, you're seeing the trends, you can begin collaboration and help drive the initiative. and then automatically populating the data for real-time insight. We know that and recognize the challenge of typically you start a new month, first week is you're doing all the operational reports, and you hand it off to someone who does the managerial reports for another week, and then in the third week you've kind of compiled everything, and by that time, the data's helpful, but it would have been nice to have it, last night or, as it was happening. So this is the overview. If we could shoot to the next slide. And here's where we were talking about the cascading. So if you look at it, starts at the CIO, there's goals, objectives, not a whole lot of filtering happening. Everything rolls up to an overall score. And then as you cascade down into the VP of Apps and the VP of Ops and the security and the PMO, you're starting to see more of a filtered approach within their particular discipline, and you can see how they're impacting the overall score. And by doing that, you're seeing the efficiencies. Like for the VP of Apps, you can see you evaluate the application, its efficiency, the defects, the performance. Then you can look over at the VP of Ops. You're tracking efficiency, automation, and security. You get into security. You can see the enterprise view across pillars and insight. You're bringing information together from a security point of view. And then from the PMO, you're addressing the program performance, project success rates, and business alignment. And then you're taking this information, you're rolling it up into a CIO strategic scorecard. And this is just one example of how you can utilize scorecards. We could, next slide. Now we have the enterprise IT strategic overview, and then from there you're cascading down into the application services, the business transactions, the data center services, and cloud, which is another initiative. And again, this is just another example of how you can do a top-down cascading throughout the organization, track, measure, monitor, show progress. We know people are doing a great job, and this gives a chance to show management how you're working towards the goals and objectives. Great. Next slide. And then no scorecard is balanced without finance. And as part of the scorecard, we have a financial management module which will allow you to do a number of things. We can pull financial data from source systems like PPM for labor, asset manager for the assets, and then we're able to bring that information into the data warehouse, and then from there we're able to do some allocation scenarios. So we have basically, and then as we're doing allocations, the example we're showing you here is you can allocate based on whether it's percentage, or you can do what we call the peanut butter spread, where you just spread evenly, or you could do allocation based on metrics. So if you want to do chargeback based on utilization of a web server, if you want to do chargeback based on headcount, number of users, there's a number of ways that you can show the business how they're consuming your services. And then below we're giving a scorecard, and then we're able to show you some CapEx and OpEx, discretionary, non-discretionary. There's a lot of pertinent information that kind of provides that deeper insight as to how IT is operating and where the resources are working and where the expenses are coming from. A lot of times, if you don't show the company or show management where the efforts are taking place financially, they may not understand the demand, and this helps do that. And then off to the right, we're showing we have the ability to do budgeting. So as you take your spreadsheets, typically in the October, November, planning for the new year, we're able to bring those spreadsheets in, and then show how we can leverage both historical information, but then be able to build the budget by which you can work through and again allocate and show the plan versus actual, and then the CapEx, OpEx, and be able to see all this information in one location. Great. Can we go to the next slide? Some of the key performance characteristics, kind of the differentiators that makes us, what makes the scorecard compelling. is the communication of strategic goals and objectives. You got one area where you can see it, and you can actually tie KPIs, metrics, to those goals and objectives, and then cascade those throughout the organization. Single source of the truth with near-time visibility. So as each night, as we're pulling information from the various source systems or spreadsheets, we're bringing that information in. Automating the capture and reporting of performance measures. So as you open up the system, look inside the library, as you can see the various KPIs and formulas, you'll be able to see how we do that calculation, and then you can automate the flow of information to populate those KPIs. Multiple supported delivery models. So this is where ResultsPositive you can either do on-premise or a SaaS solution. And then quick time to value through quick start implementation, and then enable collaboration and mobile access. So I think at this point, just kind of hand it back to you, Jon.
Yes, thanks so much, Mark. And I was wondering if I could put you on the spot and ask you a question.
Sure.
Could you give the audience here just one or two examples of how customers are using the scorecard and what was their main driver in selecting the scorecard?
Oh, thank you. Great question. So we've got some great customer stories. Probably the most familiar, the one that if you're familiar with Scorecard is United Airlines, where Scorecard was implemented to help with the merger with Continental Airlines and to be able to bring exposure to the 600 projects that were going on within that merger to see all the activities. That's been a pretty good success story. Another one is a large insurance company in Columbus, Ohio, where where they do a lot of quality testing, where they were testing various applications that were internally built, and they needed to be able to take the results and be able to roll it up to show the business the efforts that are taking place. And in their case, they had about 26 people that were doing reporting on a regular basis, and it was literally like a track meet. So the first week of the month, they were doing operational reports. The second week, they were doing the managerial reports. Third week were the strategic KPIs, and then they were presenting it by the fourth week. And then as soon as the week was over, then they'd start all over again. And then it went through a series of hands and transitions, and we've been able to automate quite a bit of that. We're going through the cycles to take each report and automate that data and present it on a regular basis and show it on the mobile devices. So a couple of good examples. We've got plenty more, but I'll hand it back to you, Jen.
Great. Thanks so much, Mark. Appreciate you providing us an overview of the HP Executive Scorecard and what you're seeing with customers today. So we greatly appreciate that, and thanks so much for your time. So what I'm going to do next here is provide you a brief demonstration of the product. And one thing to highlight here in this demonstration, you'll see here that it's showing HP Anywhere. So I'm actually demoing a tablet version of the Scorecard, which actually resides on HP's mobile platform called HP Anywhere. Right now, you can't physically show your tablet and display it via a WebEx conference call, so I'm using a terminal emulation software here so I can actually show you how I can use the scorecard on my mobile device as I'm in a meeting or as I'm walking around working with customers or working with team members in the delivery of IT services. So as we mentioned before, by having visibility here to how we're doing against our goals and objectives, I can then quickly see how we're making a difference, how we're improving the overall performance of the organization. So in this particular example, we have a goal and objective of improving overall customer satisfaction. We can see here there are 5.21. So on a scale of 1 to 10, we're kind of average, middle of the road. We can see that that's in a cautionary state, which makes sense. But I can also see that it's trending up. Next, I can also then see the different KPIs that are related to overall customer satisfaction. So you as a customer get to identify what are the core performance measures that would roll up into this particular goal and help us understand how are we achieving that particular goal and objective. so I can see that information here and be able to scroll across and view my different KPIs. I could also come in here and look at a particular goal and objective and really see how am I doing at actually meeting that particular goal and objective. So it's timed me out here, so I'm going to log back in. So you can actually now see me physically here as a demo, logging in if I run my iPad and logging in to the actual system. No, that's not what I wanted to do. So here I'm now logged in. I'm here with HP Anywhere, and you can see here I have different other mobile applications that HP has across their suite. In this case, I want to go look at the tablet for Scorecard. Now, the good news on why the session timed out was you have built-in security with this mobile platform. So kind of highlighting that I can set those timeouts as you usually expect from a security perspective. And now I can log in and I can see the real-time information here related to overall performance. And I can see that versus our individual different goals and objectives. So in this particular case, I could actually go in and say I wanted to look at the details of improving customer satisfaction. I could see that we're kind of at the average level over here in the yellow space, but I really didn't know if we were trending up or trending down. Here I can actually then see by period how are we doing about improving overall customer satisfaction. So we're definitely trending in the right direction, so I can understand that some of the current initiatives we have in the organization are helping to drive improvement. But also I can see that we're really not making tremendous impact in improving customer satisfaction. What I can then also look at is I can see the different KPIs here that are rolling up into overall customer satisfaction. So I can see particular KPIs such as approving project scope changes, meeting application performance. Those two were definitely 100%. So those are contributing to our overall satisfaction level. I can see that we're doing a very good job of meeting our service commitments as part of meeting our overall service levels. But I can see that there's a couple areas here that we really might want to look at in terms of impact to customer satisfaction. So in this particular example, we can see a lot of the new applications that have been rolled out, there's concerns from the end users about application quality. So I can actually then look into and find out how are we doing in terms of doing performance with that particular KPI. So I can actually have that information loaded here and get access to that trending information right using the mobile scorecard. So here I can see that particular key performance indicator, percent of affected end users by application quality. I can see the overall trend. So I can see that we had been trending in the right direction. We're kind of plateauing, and we're starting to go in the opposite direction. What's also nice here, a great feature that shows some of the cascading capabilities, I can then see the more detailed KPIs that are rolling up into this overall global KPI for global application quality. So I can then start to look at and see which particular application is the culprit that's really driving this red state, if you will, in our overall performance for application quality. And then if I wanted to, I could take one step further and I could go look at that particular KPI and drill even further. So you can see here, coming to the office in the morning, getting that coffee, how do I make a difference? I can quickly start by looking at our overall goal and objective. From that goal and objective, I can understand the trend. From that, I can then understand our overall KPIs. So I can determine how can I take action today? What initiatives can we focus on this particular month to really help us improve our overall performance? At the same time, as I'm doing that, I'm getting a balanced view. So I'm able to really kind of look at how are we doing in other areas and start to tie the relationship between how are we driving customer satisfaction versus how are we doing at reducing overall cost. So I can start to delineate the investments we're making in various initiatives. Are they helping us to reduce costs? Are they helping us improve customer satisfaction? And how are we balancing that as an organization because we know that we're held accountable and responsible for delivering both of those different results. So I could also then come in and look at quality delivery. So we knew that quality was a big driver we saw earlier about our kind of mediocre customer satisfaction performance. So if I wanted to look at the driving overall improvement in quality, I can then see the different KPIs that have been aligned to quality in terms of our quality delivery. We can see that open incidents, those are production events that have occurred once we release the software. That would definitely be a good indicator of overall quality. We'd obviously want that to be very low to highlight that we have a very high quality application. Also, we want to look at average time to resolve a production defect. So from an end user perspective, how quickly we resolve something highlights the quality of that application, highlights the speed by which we can be responsive, which is another factor in the quality, but also a factor into customer satisfaction. But it's also nice, instead of drilling into my individual goal and objective, I can actually go in and look at a particular KPI cell, and I can see the actual information related to that particular KPI, and I can see the trend information related to that. So in this particular case, our average time to resolve a production defect has remained constant. So I probably want to go over and look at what's going on in terms of process improvement. It's probably more a function of process improvement and how we're dealing with production incidents so that we can actually improve that turnaround time to resolve. Also, I might want to come in here and make a annotation for the ITSM directors, so how we can look at improving our process as well as improving the process with application delivery. So I could actually highlight an opportunity here and do some communication and collaboration with the team. So we need to improve our resolution time by updating our processes. So I could make that type of collaboration to the organization. And I can also say, please report at our next meeting. So I can actually add that type of annotation and collaboration here and share that information. And that way, when anyone comes into and views our individual performance measures, they're able to actually then follow the communication of the organization related to the different performance measures. So since this is the since this is the mobile version, it's a streamlined, condensed version of the actual scorecard. As Mark was mentioning before, there's a lot of additional capabilities here with the scorecard, but what we want to highlight today was just a brief introduction into the scorecard and highlight from a mobile perspective how I can take it on the road and really get access into key indicators. Also, I can see various other types of KPIs, and here again, the setup of your goals and objectives, the selection of the right key performance indicators, as well as the selection of various KPIs you'd like to see here resonant in the mobile device is something you can define as part of the implementation of the Executive Scorecard. So this is kind of a high-level overview I want to provide. Obviously, we can provide you with follow-on deep dive demonstrations. We also assist customers that are wanting to bring in the data as part of a quick POC. We also provide those type of services so you can see the value, as well as see the value of access to the out-of-the-box key performance indicators. So I'm just going to stop for a second, and first, before I thought I would just ask Mark and Richard if there's anything they would like to add here in terms of this brief product overview.
Hey John, it's Richard. I thought it was a great demo, explained the product really well, so well done on that. And I just wanted to sort of re-emphasize some of the points that have come up during the call for people listening in, because I think a lot of people are trying to do this kind of thing today, and they're probably doing a lot of work with spreadsheets and probably finding it a very manual, difficult, expensive, error-prone process. And so just to kind of summarize, I think what we're really trying to do here is automate that as much as possible. Use a lot of our experience based on the work we've done with customers before in IT management, based on what we've been doing with partners like ResultsPositive over the years, helping our customers manage their IT environments, try and capture all of that into this product. So there's a very comprehensive data model and data warehouse behind this that allows us to do all of this and pull all of this together. And I know a lot of people love to see the graphics and love to see the kinds of things we can do in the dashboard, but there's always a concern about, well, how easy is it really to do that? And so that's our goal, has been to make this as easy as possible, and I think Jon showed off very well too.
Thank you, Richard. So I'll just stop here and I'll poll the audience. Any questions from the audience today? And then I'll jump in and provide an overview of SaaS and some of the SaaS pricing, as well as the various quick start implementation approaches. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, Jon, we had a couple questions come in over the chat.
Okay.
The first question is, what is the recommended approach for delivering executive scorecard when only exposing it to the VP of Ops, and what should be considered before doing so with limited IT operation data feeds?
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question. It sounds like the question is, how do I start? How do I expose it to a limited audience, such as my VP of Operations? So what we typically recommend for organizations is you'd want to start with a scorecard, and you'd want to start actually only sharing the information with a small internal team, so that way you can create an overall baseline. So you can identify those key performance indicators for the VP of Operations, and you can keep this just central to the team that's installing the scorecard, and then you can trend the performance over 2 or 3 months, and then the perfect time to start sharing it with the VP of Operations, because then they can start sharing it with the organization. And when you go down that process, that way they get value the minute they start using the scorecard, so they've already got some trending information. You've already went through any data validation that you need to, or normalization that's needed, as well as you're able to identify your various red, yellow, green targets. And so when the VP of Operations goes out to the organization and says, hey, we're going to commit to these performance levels, but the organization doesn't need to be shocked by that or concerned by that, because you can see the trend of performance over the last couple of months, and just a minor increment in terms of increase that the organization is shooting for. Mark or Richard, anything you guys would like to add to that question?
I thought that was pretty comprehensive, Jon. I was going to just add that you mentioned before the security model, both in the mobile platform as well as through a desktop browser. That allows us to customize the desktop to different individuals. So if there's specific things you want some people to see and not others, that's easy to do. And the other thing that we find a lot as people start deploying this kind of solution is they can use our best practice information in the KPIs to highlight information that maybe they don't collect today. And so you'll start to see gaps that would help in terms of providing information to someone like the VP of Ops, and then work out where to go and get that data and plug that in too. So there's some immediate value you can get just by putting it into a single dashboard like this, and then you kind of already alluded to the iterative process of improving it over time as well.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is, the next question that comes up after you're started the journey and you're working through this is, could I create my own KPIs? Can I create my own scorecards? And absolutely. And we're providing content out of the box to get you started, to start the discussion from kind of the HP ResultsPositive thought leadership, and then from there being able to take the journey which way you want to go, and create your additional KPIs and scorecards as necessary. So I just wanted to add that. But overall, great overview.
I'd also like to add, before I turn it back to you, Zach, for the next question is, we kind of highlighted how you could start at the top-down view and start with the VP of Operations. We have many customers that are actually starting kind of more at the bottoms-up type of approach. So starting with the PMO and using it just to focus in on, managing a very large program. So the customer right now, they're actually implementing the scorecard so they can have a roll-up of a very large program they have in healthcare. And so they're starting at that program level so that they can start generating the momentum and opportunity to then start rolling it up and cascading up to the higher levels in the organization. Zach, I'll turn it back to you if you have a question.
Yeah, the other question is revolves around how does RP make it possible, or ResultsPositive, how does ResultsPositive make it possible to provide a hosted solution while treating sensitive data through a third party?
Okay, great. So very good question. And I'll be jumping right into the SaaS overview here next. But the short answer is, obviously security is vitally important. And so in terms of security, we work with our customers to identify what's the right security level that their security team's comfortable with, whether it be through VPN, whether it be through FTP, to get that data and bring it into the scorecard from a SaaS perspective. So that's definitely, there's a lot more detail to that we could get our technical team to talk about, but that's a high-level summary. Zach, if there's any other questions? If not, that's a perfect lead-in to provide an overview of our SaaS offering.
Yeah, we've got one. Is ResultsPositive PCI compliant?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. Let me, I'm just going to unmute Maurice for a second. Maurice, do you have any additional questions that you'd like to ask at this point?
Well, I'm sorry. Okay, so the answer, thanks again for taking the time and addressing the questions. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So one of the areas, and you touched on it, was definitely considering, to deploy this scorecard, and we want to know what's the value proposition in regards to why ResultsPositive versus that different vendor or a different provider of HP in this space, and how is the hosted solution being accepted in the industry today with the number of limitations to be able to transfer all the data that would be required to present to different levels of executive?
Very good questions. So thanks so much for attending and thanks for the question. So why ResultsPositive versus the other providers in this space? ResultsPositive is the HP Partner of the Year for Executive Scorecard. We also have the largest and most in-depth team to provide Executive Scorecard solution. And that's because not only do we specialize in IT Performance Suite, but we also specialize in business intelligence and business objects, which is part of the foundation here for the Executive Scorecard. So a lot of more other reasons based upon our own individual content and IP associated with the scorecard, but I'll just summarize it in those 2 points in terms of why ResultsPositive. The next question was around SaaS. So from a SaaS perspective, we've created this SaaS solution based on market demand, and this is really our launch of the SaaS solution. So in a couple of months, we'll have a good answer for you on the market uptake in terms of SaaS. However, when I say that, I actually forgot we actually have a SaaS customer using the financial planning module of the scorecard, and they've been using that for the last 2 years. And they're actually a federal government customer, so we expect they have all of the security requirements, FA 16, the new 70 compliance, PCI, etc. And so they are sharing their financial data in our SaaS solution. So we've been able to really resolve those type of concerns for customers. So Zach, of the time, I'd like to just jump into the rest of the presentation just based on the time perspective, and then maybe follow up with some more detailed questions after the call.
Okay, excellent.
So I just wanted to now provide a brief introduction into the SaaS solution. As I mentioned, there's been demand for customers. How do I get access to the scorecard in a on-demand fashion? How do I get access to the actual mobile applications in an on-demand fashion? And that is available through SaaS. As you know, with SaaS, it really frees up the team to focus on performance and not having to deal with the time it takes to get the infrastructure ready and available to provide that foundation. So the next thing to highlight here is we have 3 different SaaS offerings. Those different SaaS offerings include different types of capabilities that are included. So our basic SaaS offering gives you the scorecard as well as gives you access to the scorecard in one production environment, and it's available via a desktop version. So this gives you those value points that Mark and Richard were mentioning, automated reporting, going from manual to automated, helps you get access to those measurements, helps with the organizational collaboration, and really helps you focus on your overall strategic goals and objectives. Another thing here you're highlighting here is get you that desktop version you're seeing here in the background. Also, here's another example of some of ResultsPositive's intellectual property here, using a scorecard to manage a supplier, managing an outsourcing vendor, and showing you the different other types of views that you can use a scorecard. In this example, we were able to replicate a customer's PowerPoint presentation and use that within the scorecard. So here again, it gives additional value to the business to automate that process versus going through the standard PowerPoint process. So the key takeaway here is that the basic offering is one production environment, and it's desktop only. The next advanced offering is the same thing as the basic offering, but a few more components. So besides the production environment, it also includes the mobile solution, so I get access to the mobile application in there, as well as I get access to the HP Anywhere production environment. So I get the scorecard, I get the desktop version, I get the mobile app version, as well as I get HP Anywhere, and I get the Executive Scorecard in terms of the production environment. The next is the Premier SaaS offering. So this builds upon the Advanced, and the only difference here on the Premier, it gets the desktop version, the mobile version, your production environments, but it also then gives you a development environment of the scorecard as well. So those are the three different offerings we have in terms of the SaaS offering for the Executive Scorecard. Overall, we feel that customers will be able to get peace of mind. Like our customer, we actually have multiple customers on SaaS, but the one I was mentioning before was using the financial planning module scorecard. A government organization, they have extreme security requirements, privacy requirements. They're able to focus on their business, peace of mind that they have access to a SaaS solution, which gives them high performance, increased employee productivity, recovery time through availability and reliability, and we have failover capabilities, access to performance, as well as having it secure, both from a privacy as well as from a security perspective. So in terms of a summary, we like to always kind of end on time. But we feel by partnering together with HP Software and ResultsPositive, you'll be able to start making a difference today. You'll have access to the information that you need to personally make a difference, get that promotion. You'll be able to quickly identify the right initiatives to do in your organization to make an impact of overall performance by simplifying, streamlining, visualizing, and being able to perform better to achieve the overall value that we mentioned up front. How does IT provide more value to the business? How do we drive better performance? And that's by tapping into the HP IT Performance Management System, i.e. the Executive Scorecard, and working with your business partner ResultsPositive.